Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The alien fleet did not arrive with fire. It arrived with certainty. Three massive structures tore open space above Earth's orbit, bending light as if the universe itself feared them. They did not look like ships. They looked like machines built for one purpose: erasure. The objects settled into position above the planet and did nothing. No lasers. No missiles. No demands. They simply watched. Across the globe, telescopes turned upward, satellites focused, military radars screamed warnings, entire communication networks overloaded within minutes. Then every screen on Earth flickered at once. Phones, televisions, military consoles, billboards, even children's tablets. A symbol appeared, a spiral of silver light. Then a message translated itself into every human language. Species identified: human. Expansion trajectory unacceptable. You are scheduled for removal. No anger. No insult. Just a statement of fact. Stock markets collapsed within minutes. Governments declared planetary emergency. Fighter jets launched toward space they could not reach. But inside the United Earth Defense Command, hidden beneath reinforced mountains, General Adrian Cole did not shout. He did not panic. He stared at the holographic projection of the alien fleet and noticed something strange. "They aren't attacking," he said quietly. Around him, officers exchanged nervous looks. "Sir," one replied, "they don't need to rush." But Cole shook his head. "No, if they were certain, they would have already fired." Above Earth, inside the largest alien construct, the ruling council of the Virelian Ascendancy observed humanity in silence. They were ancient, older than most civilizations in the galaxy. They had ended hundreds of species before those species became threats. They called it preemptive harmony. Remove instability early. Preserve galactic order. Humans had triggered their alarms. Too fast in technological growth. Too creative in warfare. Too unpredictable in behavior. Their history files were disturbing. World wars. Nuclear weapons. Civil conflicts. And yet, despite everything, humans had not destroyed themselves. That unsettled the Ascendancy more than the wars. One observer stood apart from the others. Observer Calthier. He studied the human data in deeper detail. Probability of human extinction under full strike, 99.8%, the central AI announced. And under partial engagement, Calthier asked. Uncertain adaptation curves spike rapidly. He narrowed his luminous eyes. Humans adapted too quickly. That was dangerous. On Earth, a decision was made. Not to fire. Not to surrender. But to speak. The risk of contact. A single shuttle launched from Earth. It was small. Unarmed. Painted white. Inside sat Ambassador Lena Ortiz. Former astronaut. Daughter of farmers. Chosen not because she was a politician, but because she understood fear and refused to let it control her. As her shuttle approached the alien construct, space itself seemed to ripple. A circular opening formed in the alien hull, like liquid metal parting. She was pulled inside. On Earth, billions watched the live feed. Inside the alien vessel, gravity existed. The air felt cool and sterile. The walls glowed faint blue. Three tall alien figures waited. Their bodies were slender, covered in reflective material like living crystal. Their voices were calm and without emotion. "You represent the human species," one stated. "Yes," Lena replied. "You are aware of your scheduled removal." "I am." "You lack the power to resist." She paused. Then she answered in a way no simulation predicted. "Probably." A flicker of movement passed between the aliens. "Then why approach?" She swallowed her fear. "Because you misunderstand us. You are violent." "Yes." "You are unstable." "Yes." "You are divided." She nodded again. "Yes." The aliens seemed confused. "You admit your flaws." "We live with them," she said. Then her voice changed. "But you only studied our worst moments." She told them about human cooperation. International space stations built by former enemies. Medical breakthroughs shared freely. Scientists working together across borders during global disasters. She told them about firefighters running into burning buildings, doctors staying behind in war zones, strangers donating blood for people they would never meet. You saw our wars, she said. Did you study what we did after? Kael'thir observed her carefully. Her heart rate was elevated, but her words showed no deception. Why should your species continue? He asked. Lena looked directly at him. Because one day you will need us. The chamber grew still. That was not arrogance. It was not a threat. It was conviction. The test. The Ascendancy did not believe in emotion. They believed in evidence. So they initiated a trial. One of their constructs descended into Earth's atmosphere. It released drones. Hundreds of them. Vast. Armored. Armed with precision energy weapons. They targeted military installations only. No civilians. This was a measurement. At first, human defenses failed. Missiles exploded harmlessly against alien shields. Railguns dented armor but did not destroy. Casualties rose. Across Earth, panic threatened to break coordination. Then something changed. Data began moving faster. Rival nations opened classified channels to each other. Old enemies shared weapon codes. Civilian engineers joined military networks. Programmers worked without sleep. Within hours, drone patterns were analyzed. Weak points identified. Power cycles predicted. An experimental electromagnetic pulse designed for asteroid mining was modified into a drone disruptor. A university lab in South Korea rewrote targeting algorithms in 3 hours. A retired mechanic in Texas converted agricultural lasers into anti-drone cannons. Within 12 hours, 30% of drones were destroyed. Within 24, 65%. Within 36, the alien task force retreated. The Ascendancy watched in silence. Adaptation speed exceeds projections, the AI reported. Kael'thir studied the numbers. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the most advanced. But when pressured, they unified. And when unified, they learned at terrifying speed. Inside the alien chamber, Lena saw the data shift. You see, she said softly. We survive. You suffered heavy losses, one alien noted. Yes. And yet morale remains high. She nodded. We've been fighting ourselves for centuries. You think we don't know how to endure? The aliens did not respond. But uncertainty had entered their calculations. The greater threat. Then alarms echoed through the alien vessel. Not human alarms. Alien alarms. Deep space monitoring arrays reported a collapse of one of the Ascendancy's outer colonies. Destroyed. Not by humans. Not by known rivals. By something unidentified. Energy readings matched anomalies humans had recently detected at the edge of their telescopes. Kael'thir turned slowly toward Lena. You knew of this. We suspected, she said. What is it? We don't know. That honesty again. No exaggeration. No fear-driven lie. Just truth. The alien AI displayed projections. Whatever had destroyed their colony was moving toward this region of space. Slow. Massive. Consuming. And it did not communicate. It simply erased. For the first time in thousands of years, the Ascendancy faced something beyond their control. One council member spoke sharply. We eliminate humans now, preserve resources. Another countered. They adapt rapidly, they may provide strategic advantage. Kael'thir studied the human ambassador. You would fight beside those who intended your extinction. Lena's answer was immediate. If it means humanity survives, yes. You show no resentment. We don't have time for resentment. That statement carried more weight than any weapon. The shift. Above Earth, alien ships changed formation. Not attack pattern. Defensive configuration. Global military commanders noticed immediately. General Ko leaned forward. They're bracing for something. Deep space telescopes detected movement. A distortion in the fabric of space. Stars bending unnaturally. Then, a darkness appeared. Not absence of light, but consumption of it. An enormous structure emerged from warped space. Organic. Mechanical. Impossible to define. It emitted no signals. No demands. It simply advanced. The alien AI labeled it. Unknown entity. Threat level absolute. Kelthir faced Lena. If we withdraw, your species dies first. She nodded. If you stay alone, you die next. A long silence followed. For the first time in their long history, the Ascendancy made a decision they had never made before. Human representative, Kelthir said slowly. Your species is no longer scheduled for removal. On Earth, billions watched as alien ships repositioned around the planet, forming a shield. Lena exhaled for the first time since arriving. But the victory was small. Because the greater enemy was arriving. And it was enormous. The unknown entity reached the outer defense perimeter of the alien fleet. Without warning, it released a wave of energy. One Ascendancy ship vanished instantly. Not exploded. Not damaged. Gone. Erased from existence. The alien fleet responded with coordinated firepower capable of destroying moons. The attack struck the entity. And were absorbed. No visible damage. No reaction. On Earth, fear returned stronger than before. General Cole whispered, that thing makes them look small. Inside the alien command chamber, Kelthir turned to Lena. Human adaptability is impressive, he said. But this threat consumes civilizations. Lena met his gaze. Then it picked the wrong species to test. Outside, the unknown entity advanced toward Earth. The Ascendancy fleet prepared every weapon. Human militaries prepared everything they had. For the first time in history, humans and aliens stood together. Not as enemies, but as allies, facing something that devoured entire star systems. And as the darkness moved closer, one truth became clear. Humanity had not been judged too early. It had been underestimated. The unknown entity did not slow down. It did not answer hails. It did not react to warnings. It moved like a storm with purpose. Where it passed, space bent unnaturally, light curved toward it and vanished. Long-range sensors from both Earth and the Virelian fleet struggled to define its shape. It looked like a shifting mass of black metal and living tissue. Like a machine grown instead of built. And it was enormous. Twice the size of the largest Virelian construct. Above Earth, the ships of the Virelian Ascendancy formed a defensive sphere. Energy shields overlapped, weapon arrays charged. On Earth, global communication networks were unified under a single command for the first time in history. No borders. No flags. Just survival. General Adrian Cole stood before a planetary transmission feed. This is not a war for territory, he said. This is a war for existence. Across the world, factories switched from consumer production to military output within hours. Civilian cargo ships were converted into support vessels. Old satellites were repurposed as sensor relays. Humanity did what it always did under pressure. It adapted. First clash. The unknown entity reached the outer defense line. The Virelian fleet fired first. Massive beams of coherent plasma struck the creature. The energy output was enough to fracture a small moon. The beams vanished into the entity's surface. Absorbed. Then the entity responded. A wave of distortion spread outward like invisible fire. 3 Virelian ships dissolved instantly. Not destroyed. Not shattered. Erased. As if they had never existed. Inside the alien command chamber, observer Kelthir felt something unfamiliar. Fear. This entity manipulates localized spacetime, their AI reported. Can it be damaged? Kelthir demanded. Unknown. On Earth, Ambassador Lena Ortiz stood beside him, watching the battle through holographic projections. Humans were small compared to this scale of war. But small did not mean useless. Show me its energy fluctuations, Lena said quickly. The Virelian officers hesitated. Kelthir gestured for compliance. Data streams filled the chamber. Lena studied the readings. Then her eyes widened. It's not absorbing randomly, she said. It's converting incoming energy. Clarified, Kelthir replied. It's feeding on direct power strikes. The more force you use, the stronger it gets. Silence. The Virelian strategy relied on overwhelming force. Humans relied on something else. Improvisation. Human thinking. Back on Earth, a team of physicists analyzed the shared alien data. Within minutes, global scientific communities were connected in real time. Ideas flew across continents. The entity distorted gravity and energy fields. It thrived on large, concentrated attacks. One young engineer from Argentina proposed a risky idea. "What if we don't hit it hard?" she said. "What if we irritate it instead?" The idea spread. Instead of massive blasts, use thousands of small, irregular strikes. Unpredictable timing. Variable frequencies. Overload its conversion systems. General Cole approved the plan. The Virelians were skeptical. "This is inefficient," one commander said. "It is chaotic." Kael'thir looked at Lena. "You call this strategy?" She smiled slightly. "We call it being annoying." Phase 2. Human satellites began firing low-yield kinetic projectiles. Mining lasers flickered from orbit. Converted cargo vessels launched micromissiles in unpredictable patterns. None of the attacks were powerful, but they were constant. Irritating. Erratic. The Virelians adjusted reluctantly, splitting their heavy beams into fragmented pulses. The unknown entity reacted. Its surface rippled. Energy conversion spikes became unstable. For the first time, a visible fracture appeared across its outer shell. It was small, but it was damage. Cheers erupted across Earth. Inside the alien fleet, astonishment spread. "Damage confirmed," the AI announced. Kael'thir turned slowly toward Lena. "Your species fights like insects," he said. She nodded. "And insects are hard to eliminate." The counterattack. The unknown entity changed tactics. Instead of absorbing attacks, it launched smaller fragments of itself. Dark shards broke away and accelerated toward Earth. Each shard was the size of a skyscraper. Impact prediction, global extinction events. The Virelian fleet intercepted most of them. But several broke through. Earth's defenses mobilized instantly. Railguns fired from hidden bases. Orbital platforms redirected trajectories. One shard entered the atmosphere above the Pacific Ocean. Human pilots launched despite overwhelming odds. They knew their aircraft were not designed for this. They flew anyway. A coordinated strike from dozens of jets altered the shard's path just enough. It slammed into the ocean instead of a city. The explosion created a tidal wave. But evacuation systems had already moved millions to safety. Human losses were heavy, but not catastrophic. On the alien flagship, Kael'thir watched human casualty reports. "You continue fighting despite losses that would break many species." Lena's voice was quiet. "We've been broken before." The turning point. Scientists identified something critical. The fractures forming on the entity's shell were spreading in patterns. It was not just being damaged. It was destabilizing internally. Its power core, if it had one, reacted violently to irregular energy inputs. "Hit the same weak points repeatedly," the Argentine engineer suggested. "Different angles, different frequencies." The Virelians adjusted their precision weaponry. Humans increased their chaotic interference. Together, their styles formed something new. Controlled unpredictability. The unknown entity began emitting pulses of unstable radiation. Space around it warped violently. Kael'thir realized something. It is losing control of its own energy conversion. "Then push it harder," Lena said. Final gamble. The fractures widened. But the entity prepared one final attack. Energy gathered at its center. Sensors predicted a focused beam aimed directly at Earth. Power output beyond planetary shield capacity. Impact would shatter the planet. There was no time for slow irritation tactics. They needed a decisive move. Kael'thir made a decision that would change galactic history. He turned to Lena. "If we overload it completely, the detonation radius will include our fleet." "You'll lose ships," she said. "Yes. And if you do, Earth will fall." Silence hung between them. Then Lena activated a secure channel to General Cole. "We need everything," she said. "Every reactor, every satellite, every experimental drive." Cole did not hesitate. Done. Human fusion plants across the planet redirected output into orbital transmission arrays. Old experimental warp prototypes were dismantled for raw energy. Even civilian power grids fed into the network. The Viralians synchronized their most powerful weapons with human transmitters. Not one massive beam, but millions of precisely timed microsurges. Chaotic. Irregular. Overlapping. The unknown entity fired its planetary beam. At the same instant, humanity and the Viralian ascendancy unleashed everything. The energy struck the fractured weak points. Instead of being absorbed, the entity convulsed. Internal conversion systems spiraled out of control. The planetary beam destabilized mid-discharge. A chain reaction tore through its core. Light erupted from within the darkness. The entity collapsed inward, then exploded outward in a shockwave of warped space. Viralian ships were thrown off course. Human satellites fried instantly. Energy storms ripped across the upper atmosphere. But Earth remained intact. When the light faded, the unknown entity was gone. Nothing remained except drifting debris and distorted space slowly healing. Silence filled the void. Aftermath. Earth's orbit was scarred. Alien ships were damaged. Human infrastructure was battered. But both still existed. Inside the alien flagship, Kelthir stood in the observation chamber. He had witnessed the fall of civilizations. He had ordered exterminations. But he had never seen a species fight like this. Lena joined him. Is it over? She asked. For now, he replied. On Earth, celebrations were cautious. Cities mourned the lost. Families held each other. And for the first time in history, humanity had not fought alone. The final judgment. The Viralian Council convened one last time. Their original mission had been to eliminate humanity. Now they faced a new conclusion. Kelthir addressed the council. Humans are unstable, he said. They are chaotic. He paused. They are also invaluable. No objections followed. The official declaration was transmitted to Earth. Species designation, human. Status, allied civilization. Threat classification, withdrawn. Cooperative potential, exceptional. On Earth, General Cole allowed himself a rare smile. Ambassador Lena returned home weeks later. She stood beneath an open sky, looking up at the stars. This time, alien ships hovered not as executioners, but as guardians. Kelthir sent one final private message. Your species was nearly erased by our decision. Lena replied. And yours would have been erased by your certainty. There was a pause. Then Kelthir transmitted something unheard of among his people. Thank you. Epilogue: the species that refused to kneel. Years later, human and Viralian ships explored together. Where once there had been judgment, there was partnership. Other civilizations watched carefully. They had seen the ascendancy. They had feared them. Now they saw something different. A powerful empire that had changed its mind. Because of humans, humanity did not become the strongest species. It did not dominate the galaxy. But it earned something rarer. Respect. The unknown entity had consumed countless worlds. It had expected easy victory over two divided species. Instead, it found unity, improvisation, endurance. Humanity had been judged as dangerous. And the galaxy learned something important. Humans were dangerous, but not to their allies, only to extinction itself. And in the vast darkness between stars, when something terrible begins to move, there is now a quiet understanding across many worlds. If humans are standing beside you, you might just survive. The end.